missionary, banker, corporate power structure manifested itself with statehood into the legislature being taken over from what was called the Big Five, the corporate interests that ran Hawaii, that owned Hawaii, and the landed interests there. So the question of civil rights, the question of racial identity, was in ferment all around the world, including Hawaii. And into that context, Barack Obama appears. Very quickly, he meets a young girl. I say a girl because she was 18. You could scarcely say even a young woman at that point, scarcely 18 years old, out of high school. She met him. Now, it was easy to be drawn into the orbit of this very compelling, charismatic man. But at the same time, she was a remarkable person. Put yourself back again, I ask you. 50 years. Even now, today, interracial marriage is still, oh, wait a minute. You know, how's that going to work out? Religions, ooh, wait a minute. Are we going to mix that up? So you can imagine. Put yourself back 50 years ago. Now, here's a young girl. Now, her parents, they originally came from Kansas, and she was white. And what happened? The color side of it, which had informed so much of our political dialogue, not only in Hawaii, not only in the United States, but around the world, was subsumed to affection and love. No, this is not a new story. This is maybe even a romantic story. This is the kinds of stories that come up over and over again. And I'm looking around the room, and there's some stories here in this room. At one time, and in some time, more recently than 50 years ago, somebody got together for all of you. And all of you who are in this room represent an incredible melange of this. Now, why do I dwell on this as much as I do? Not because it's inherently more interesting, but because of the consequences and outcome that we're facing right now today, here in Hawaii, tonight, which is in which the fate of this country in terms of who's going to be president may very well be on the road to final decision. That's why I concentrate on it, because it becomes a microcosm of the entire circumstances of race and politics in this country. They got together, they fell in love, they got married, little Barry was born. Barack Obama, the senator today, was little Barry then. Now what happened? He was born into a context. I'm not going to go into the whole history, subsequent history of Barack and his mom. They separated. He went on to Harvard and got his PhD, went back to Kenya. They separated. That constitutes another realm of that I don't have time to pursue today, other than to say that what she had when she brought what she brought to this union was a young woman, as I say, scarcely 18, who on the surface was much different than her husband to be. He was full of life and full of himself and exuberant and demonstrative. And she was very quiet. On the surface, more an observer than a participant. You can imagine, she was 18. She was scarcely into her first weeks and months of academic pursuit in an entirely new context. The same kind of thing that all of you have experienced. When you come up here, all of a sudden, you know, a whole bunch of people you don't know and exposure to conditions and circumstances intellectually and otherwise that are new, fascinating, challenging. But she had a sense of adventuresome spirit about her that had to be. This is 50 years ago. This was not an easy thing to do. This was a woman of extraordinary curiosity and perseverance and determination to make this come true for her, to meld her emotional life with her sense of where she wanted to go in the world. And so little Barry came into that. And what then did he come into? The culture of Hawaii. And what was happening in Hawaii? What was happening in the nation at that time? This is the civil rights movement. Now, he's a child, but his mom and dad are the products of the 50 years that come before that, the generation before that. And what happened in this country then, in which I participated in, and so I'm giving you this all as an observer that I've gone through with them, was the blossoming of the civil rights movement, so that you have a situation where a woman told me yesterday, a lady who's been involved in the civil rights movement all these years, now in her twilight years at the Obama rally yesterday, who said with tears in her eyes, a black woman that I've known here all of the last 50 years and who was involved in it for years before that. She says, I've been dreaming this dream all my life, and now my dream is going to come true. Think about that. What an extraordinary thing. This is not an abstraction anymore. This is not a hope. Someday, somewhere, somehow. This romantic notion, it won't be us, but maybe it'll be our kids or our grandkids, somewhere down the line. We're going to be on the short end. It's not going to happen for us. I can't succeed at the things I want to do and who I want to be, but maybe somebody else will. Well, now that's here. I'm getting chicken skin when I talk about it. Now it's here. For those of us who went through this time and period, decades, when the senator says, we are who we are waiting for. Now, there are pundits out there. What does that mean? People who went through this whole civil rights period know exactly what that means, know precisely what that means. That doesn't need translation at all. What it means is we're not waiting. It is here. It's in 3 dimensions, which informs why there is this sense of excitement across the country. Think about it. Think about it, what it would be if you went, and I say you, it can be any of us, including me, the holy boy from the East Coast coming to Hawaii. Think about it, about what it would mean if you went to sit down for lunch at the big city diner in Kaimuki, and somebody came up and smashed you in the head with a baseball bat for sitting down and ordering some food. Now, let me tell you something. That's real. That happened. And let me tell you, being white didn't protect you, because if you were sitting there with the guy or the gal who was sitting there who was the wrong color, you got probably 2 shots in the head because you were a traitor. You were a traitor to your race. The last thing on earth you could be is a white ally of anybody that was trying to pursue civil rights. And let me tell you, it didn't help you any to say, well, I'm almost white. I'm this, I'm that, and the other thing. I can pass. We don't even know what that means these days. I bet if I took well, I won't take a survey right now. Well, we know what passing meant. What passing meant was you could hide who you were. You could get away with who you were. If you knew who you were, if you weren't struggling with who you were, which, of course, is what happened with Senator Obama. People look back and they say, what are you talking about? He went to Punahou. Everybody liked him. He was a nice guy. As if there was no inner life going on. Nobody trying to decide inside who he or she was. Don't forget, he came into a situation in which his father abandoned him. His father had other priorities. His father left his mother. No, this is not a strange thing to maybe some of the people in this room, that there's a one-parent family raised by a single parent, maybe most likely the mom. That's not strange. But I'll tell you what, I don't care who you are, who you think you are now. Every single person for whom that has happened, particularly in an interracial marriage, is at some point in their life trying to figure out, who am I? What am I all about? How does it work? What's my relationship to myself and the world? Doesn't mean it can't be successfully concluded. But this is part of the framework of decision-making that Senator Obama had to make, and others by the thousands and hundreds of thousands, and in fact millions, have had to make about who am I? What am I all about in this context in the United States of America that says one thing about itself, but manifestly, in my eyes and in my experience every day, is doing something else. When it comes then to the question of racial politics in this country, it has been the underground assumption, scarcely spoken in public, that yes, we are a nation of freedom. Yes, we are a nation of opportunity. Yes, we're a nation of justice. So when somebody says, well, does that mean that somebody from a different race could be elected president of the United States? Does that mean someone with a gender other than male could be elected president of the United States? The single most visible practical manifestation of what it means to be able to pursue everything that you could be or might want to be or aspire to be president of the United States. Now, that wasn't true.